Hello, Tom Maguire. I'm just going to review the book Getting Things Done: The Art of Stress-Free Productivity by David Allen. This book came out, or its first release in 2002, but it got updated in 2015. There are some people who say it's a bit out of date and there are better systems since, but I still think this is a bit of a classic. I think it's worth a book review. As I said before, this channel is about personal development. I read as much as possible from the world of personal development, not just from the world of personal development, but I read as many good books as I possibly can with the view to improving myself, with the view to sharing that information with you. There's a lot of bad personal development advice and self-help advice out there, so I'm here to try and filter chaff and try and get the best possible stuff out there. I run my own training consultancy business, so I've been training a lot of people recently, a senior management team around stress management, and a lot of that has involved talking about how to organise time, so this book is really relevant to that, so I want to share some of those things with you. Another reason I do these reviews is to leave honest book reviews to my children so that they can look back and look at some of the stuff that I read and talked about when I was younger and I was trying to be a YouTuber, and they can sort of laugh at me and all that sort of stuff. So it's something I enjoy doing as well. I love doing this. I love putting this stuff on YouTube, and I love kind of thinking about the stuff I've read, talking about it and sharing it. So Getting Things Done: The Art of Stress-Free Productivity, David Allen. I think it's a fantastic book. It's been a game changer for me. I was never a particularly organised person before. I always wanted to be organised. I always knew it was a weakness of mine. I can remember even in school, I used to struggle following timetables. I used to have to follow my mates around, and I was just terrible. I just wasn't interested in organising myself. I wasn't interested in kind of dates and times and being in certain places at certain times and what have you, and it just took me a long time to kind of get to grips with that and see the point in it. And since starting my own business about 7 years ago, I quickly realised that it's really important to be organised. You know, you've kind of got no choice. You're either organised or you fail pretty quickly. So, but even then, it took me a little while to kind of get into it and kind of get to a system that sort of worked for me, and this book was a big part of that. And like I say, the senior management team that I've been training this week, I've been telling them about this, and it's really surprising how many people who work in kind of senior positions, they're in positions of authority and responsibility, and they don't even do some of the basics. You know, they might keep a list possibly, but when I talk to them and we kind of drill down about how they use their lists, quite often it's really basic stuff. It's just writing it down, and they tell me that things build up and they go on to the next week, and there are things that sit on there for ages and they worry about them even more and they become even more of the problem. So I've been spending a lot of time talking about how lists are fantastic when they work properly, but they're absolutely terrible when they don't work properly, and they can compound the problem and cause you even more stress and anxiety. And when we're stressed, kind of the last thing we want to do is kind of feel as though we've got more work to do and more writing to do and more thinking to do. We kind of want to just give up and just throw our hands up in the air and just kind of go to sleep or have a drink or do whatever it is that we enjoy doing. But if you are kind of accepting personal responsibility for your development and you want to be a success, you want to be happy, then you have to kind of take control of your organisation skills. And this book is really good for that. And so I'm not going to kind of go through it bit by bit precisely. I'm going to give you some of the stuff that I've taken away from it. So David Allen kind of talks with this kind of Zen Buddhist mentality. He talks about having a mind like water. It's this idea that if we can empty our minds from kind of multitasking, then we're far more able to be innovative and creative. We're far more able to kind of come up with ideas, be strategic and do the things that we need to do rather than thinking about the things that we're saying yes to. Something we said yes to weeks ago, months ago, that we've just kind of forgotten about. Changing tyres on the car, booking the car in for a service, booking a meeting, ringing someone, getting back to someone, responding to an email, a session that we've got coming up at work, or whatever it is, all these things bouncing around in our mind, causing us stress and anxiety. And the first thing he says to do is to get stuff out of your head onto paper. It doesn't necessarily have to be onto paper. It can be into an app on your phone, the notes section of your phone or what have you. But something comes into your mind, and if, as quickly as possible, you need to try and get it out and in somewhere else. And one of the biggest problems there for me is I'm quite often driving. So, you know, I drive my kids to nursery. I have to drive for work sometimes. I have to go shopping, all sorts of things. I do a lot of driving, and quite often I find that when I'm driving, I'm concentrating on driving, or I'm kind of in the moment, and that's when ideas will come to you. It's like when you have a shower or something like that, those ideas will come to your mind. And when you're driving, it's very difficult to get your thoughts on paper because you're driving and you don't want to be picking your phone up and messing around. So you have these ideas that come to you quite often. And I've started using either Siri or Alexa for that. So I think voice recognition is something that is getting better and better. A lot of these kind of entrepreneurial types, these successful types, will tell you that voice recognition is going to be the next big thing. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. It's a technology that hasn't really been perfected yet. It's got a bit of a way to go before it becomes reliable and easy to use, but I think they are getting there. And I've just found that if I'm able to just sort of say, Alexa, remind me that I've got a meeting later on today, or make a note that I have to respond to this person about this or that, if I can do that when I'm driving, that takes so much of my stress away, because it's horrible being in the car, feeling relaxed. And as you relax, something pops into your head and you feel as though you've got to pull over and put it into your phone, or pull over and note it down. So being able to use that voice recognition stuff, and some cars have voice recognition technology as well. Mine does, but it doesn't really work well enough, to be honest. It's more stress than it's worth. And I think even the sort of like the latest cars at the minute aren't necessarily particularly great with that yet. So, but Alexa seems to work quite well for me at the minute. So that's a bit of a tip. But really it is about getting thoughts as they come into your mind, out of your mind, onto paper, into your notes. Just get everything out. In fact, he says there's an exercise you can do where you just literally sit down, brainstorm, get everything out that's on your mind, get it all out, spend a bit of time doing it. It can take quite a long time to do it. Get it all out onto paper, and then you can start to organise it into different forms of lists. He then talks about the importance of putting down next actions. So what is the next action you need to do? Don't just write mum, dog, food, car, work, things that are going to take energy for you to kind of interpret. Write down a bit more detail than that, and then try to put a next action next to it as well. Then you can start looking at it. If it's going to take less than 2 minutes, then do it straight away, get it done. If it's going to take longer than 2 minutes, then is it something that you can defer to a later date and put it into your calendar? Or is it something you can delegate to someone? So it's about organising into those different things. Is it potentially something that needs to be sat on for a little while? Is it a future project, or is it a someday maybe dream or ambition of some kind? So it goes to a separate list for that. When I first heard about this, it was a case of, oh my God, more lists. But actually, once you start to use it and you start to plan these things out, they really do start to make sense. It just takes a little bit of time to get your head around. For some people, it's probably much easier. For me, being someone who wasn't particularly organised, it did take a bit of effort to sort of look at it a few times, but it's really worth it. And the key thing that David Allen says, and the key thing that I will reiterate, is that you need to review it every week. So you need to sit down every week. I'd normally do it on a Sunday. Sunday for me is normally a day without media, without phones. It's the only day of the week when I try and put that stuff aside. But I will spend time in the afternoon, early evening, to try and plan a little bit of the week ahead, because I want to go into Monday feeling kind of focused and ready to go and relaxed. I sleep far better on a Sunday night having done that. So review your lists on a Sunday or whatever day you want once a week. Just go over things, just look at them. What hasn't been done, what needs to be done, what needs to change place. Does that thing need to go into a future goal, or does it need to be deferred? Does it need to be delegated? Is that something that keeps going on from week to week? What are you trying to hide from? What are you trying to escape from? What's causing you more stress? And it's just reviewing those things and just streamlining all the time. If you don't do the review, then the whole system is going to kind of break down. So it's a really good book. I really recommend it. I listened to the audiobook initially. It's narrated by David Allen. He's got quite a good voice, actually. He's quite kind of comforting and reassuring. He's almost that sort of traditional kind of personal development American kind of voice, without being too cheesy. He's not the sort of in-your-face, smile all the time, optimistic personal development guru, but he's just, he's got your back sort of thing. He's a good person to have sort of faith in for this, I think. And he's had a lot of success with it. If you look on Goodreads, he's in the top whatever of productivity books of all time, and there's loads of reviews out there. Plenty of people who say that it's out of date nowadays, but you're going to get critics. If you're someone who struggles with organisation, then you've got to start somewhere, and I think this is a fantastic place to start. If you want to streamline and change things as you go, then that's absolutely up to you. That's fine. But I highly recommend this book. There's loads of videos on YouTube as well. You don't necessarily need to read the book. You can listen to what he says on YouTube, different interviews where he breaks down some of the different concepts and techniques and tools. I've been training this stuff all week. I've been helping people with this stuff for a long time. It really does make a difference. It's made a difference to me. couldn't recommend it enough. I think it's a really good one. So thank you very much. Please keep liking. Please keep subscribing. I really appreciate it. And I've got loads more books that I'm trying to review. I'm reading them I'm getting through them far too quickly to be able to get them reviewed. So I will be back very soon. Take care. Thank you very much. Goodbye.